Here's 5 talking points from Manchester United's 2-1 win against Luton in the Premier League. Number 1, lack of control. We've been saying this, haven't we, all season about Manchester United, and it's getting more worrying as the games go on. Look, with all due respect to Luton, they are deemed as lesser opposition in the Premier League. Now, there have been big teams, not just Manchester United, that have gone there and have struggled. Man City, Liverpool, the top teams in the league. And United were no different yesterday, it has to be said. Lightning start. And we've seen Manchester United do this pretty much all season. Starting really, really well. Maybe getting a goal ahead. In this case, going 2 goals up after 6 minutes. And instantly allowing Luton back into the game. We've seen Manchester United do it so many times, starting games really well and then maybe losing a little bit of tempo. Sometimes we concede a goal and our heads seem to drop completely and we don't control the game like we should. Yesterday was a prime example of United doing this, and it's a type of game. I know it's, Kenilworth Road, away from home, an old ground, the crowd are right on top of you. But these are the type of games, especially when you go 2-0 up so early on, that you just need to be professional, you need to be smart, you need to dictate tempo, control possession, and just be boring and see out the game. And Manchester United are far from that. If anything, from the neutral standpoint, it's probably a really exciting team to watch in terms of Manchester United, because you just don't know what to expect from them. You don't know what you're going to get out of them, and you don't know, are they going to hold on to a lead, throw it away, whatever it may be. United were, I would say yesterday, we could have easily scored 4 or 5 goals yesterday, easily. Bruno Fernandez's one-on-one chance, he has to be scoring. Garnacho in one-on-one has to be scoring as well. So there were some big opportunities for United to go on and win the game. However, we just never seem comfortable. And that's a big, big concern. And it's something that we are going to have to address between now and the end of the season, because there's only so many times you can get away with this. If we continue to do this, eventually the bigger team, like if we do this against Man City in a couple of weeks' time at the Etihad, we're going to get absolutely annihilated. Absolutely. Now that could happen anyway, but we have to get this under control. And by that, I mean start controlling games ourselves, because it's a big, big, big concern. Number 2, Casemiro's yellows. And, it just wouldn't be a Manchester United game at the moment without Casemiro getting a yellow card. It's starting to become a concern, I have to say. We talk about, and our last point was lack of control. I think we naturally have more control when Casemiro's on the field and when he's not on a yellow card. And I think we're playing into opposition's hands when he does pick up these yellow cards. Now, he has been unlucky in some occasions, I will say. Like last week, the yellow card he got was nowhere near a yellow. It was a complete dive. And maybe he's getting a little bit of a reputation for picking up yellow cards, and referees look at him as an easy target. We've seen him with red cards last year. And, I think it's 3 games out of the last 4 now that Casemiro has got the curly finger by Erik ten Hag and been substituted because he's been on a yellow card. It just has to stop, because we are a better team with Casemiro playing on the field than we are without him. And I think it's something that we really need to look at controlling. It has to come directly from the player himself, you would have to say. And I think it's something that if not corrected and if not stopped, I suppose is the right word to say, then we're going to miss him. We've seen last season when he was out for us, and a bit this season that he's been injured. I think he's 1 yellow card away now from a suspension, and he's going to get a suspension between now and the end of the season. He's not going to go, the remainder of the season without picking up a yellow card. I know, I'm not sure how many games you have to go before the yellow card is rescinded, but yeah, it's a big concern. And we seen it yesterday as well with Harry Maguire. Very foolish stepping out into midfield, ploughing through defenders or ploughing through attackers, coming in through the back of them and giving away silly free kicks. And it's the easiest thing in the world when an attacker is coming out looking for the ball and you go with him as a defender. Is just keep him facing away from your goal. That's all you need to do. But we were rash in the challenges yesterday. Casemiro was very, very lucky to stay on the field. He should have been sent off. His first yellow card was probably softer than the second one that he should have got, you would have to say. It's something that we really, really need to look at, with Casemiro especially. We need him on the field between now and the end of the season as much as possible. I've seen a little bit of talk online about Casemiro since the game yesterday. Maybe are his legs gone, and maybe he's past his best, and whatever the case may be. If he is past his best, okay, he's still a fantastic footballer, and one that Manchester United are lucky to have playing for him on the field. But we need him on the field. We can't have him coming off at half time every game, every second game, because he's on a yellow card and putting in rash challenges. He does need some support in the midfield as well, you would have to say. A lot of people talking about that as well. And that certainly is the case. I think we've got, obviously, a very young Kobbie Mainoo playing alongside him, who's still learning the ropes in terms of maybe the defensive side of the game. And we know Bruno Fernandes is getting caught ahead of the ball an awful lot of the time as well. So, look, it is a concern. He needs to stop getting yellow cards. It's the type of position on the pitch that you are going to, pick up cards. But when you get a yellow card, just chill out, man. Don't go get a second one. Don't start flying into tackles, because you're just going to get substituted. But it's a concern at the moment, and something we need to look at. Number 3, Shaw's injury. Big concern. This really, really big concern. Obviously, we know he was taken off supposedly as a precaution last week. And Erik ten Hag said in his pre-match press conference that, he was available, he was in the squad, and we seen him start. And he looked like he had no issues, absolutely no issues. He was actually playing quite well, in fairness to him. Obviously, Ogbene on that right-hand side with loads and loads of pace. I think Luke Shaw was doing relatively well against him, it has to be said. And then we seen him being substituted just before half-time. And I suppose the biggest concern I would take out of that is the fact that I think it was only 2 or 3 minutes before half-time. And Erik ten Hag wasn't taking any chances, and he took him off and brought on Lindelof. And so that would kind of give you some kind of inkling into the seriousness of the injury, maybe. I don't think you take Luke Shaw off 2 games in a row as a precaution, and the second time being a minute or two before half-time. So I think Luke Shaw is probably going to be missing for a few weeks. We've got a big concern when it comes to fullbacks. Obviously, Malacia's rehabilitation from his injury in pre-season has hit a couple of setbacks, and it looks like another few weeks before he's available. We know Aaron Wan-Bissaka is out with an injury now as well. And now, of course, Luke Shaw. So we've only got one established fullback fully fit, and that's Diogo Dalot. And he's been our best fullback so far this season, it has to be said. But it's a big area of concern. It completely unbalances the team when Luke Shaw's not in it. And I don't think it's necessarily because Luke Shaw's a world beater or anything like that, even though he's a fantastic footballer. I think when you bring in the likes of Lindelof, who's not naturally left-footed, who's not naturally a left full, is more of a centre-back, I think it unbalances the team. And there's a big question mark now over, and we mentioned it in our match preview during the week. Do you now move Diogo Dalot, who's playing really well, to left back, and put Lindelof, who's naturally, I suppose, more comfortable on the right-hand side? Do you put him at right full, or do you leave Dalot at right full, who's playing really well? Erik ten Hag has got a big decision to make. We need to get fullbacks back. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is probably the closest one to being back, so if we could get him back as quickly as possible, it would maybe allow Dalot to go over onto that left-hand side. But it's a big concern, that fullback area. Let's hope Luke Shaw's not out for too long, because he's a great player and we need him. And like I said, I think that left-hand side, especially with Marcus Rashford, I think they link up really well together, and they look really dangerous when they're playing alongside each other. So let's hope his injury is not too serious, and he won't be out for too long. Now, number 4, and we're getting into the positives now. Hojlund on fire. 7 goals in 6 games. This kid is on the hot streak of his life, it has to be said. And he is a kid. That's the word to highlight here. He's still a kid, which is absolutely fantastic. 21 years of age. All of the criticism he got when he first signed for Manchester United, and the likes of fucking Graham Souness and these idiots, writing him off straight away. A 21-year-old coming to Manchester United, leading the line with no one to back him up in terms of, who? Anthony Martial? Nonsense. And it took him time to settle, but my God, is he really, really reaping the rewards now, I have to say. And I've said it all season, I've been really impressed with him, even when he hasn't been scoring. He's been getting into areas. He's been, his movement in the box is brilliant. And even small things like I mentioned yesterday on the watch along, he's always covered in dirt, head to toe. In his jersey is always filthy dirty. His socks, his shorts, always dirty. Puts himself about. I love it. I really, really do. I'm so happy. Him scoring and continuing to score between now and the end of the season, I think, and I don't want to be putting too much pressure on him, not that he's going to see this video or anything, but I think him scoring between now and the end of the season is going to determine whether we get top 4 or not. I really do. If he can continue to score goals, if he can get, I think he's on, what is he on now? He's on, I think he's on 12 or 13 goals, I think maybe, in all competitions. If he can get to 20 goals between now and the end of the season, I think we make top 4. I really, really do. And I'm delighted to see it. I really am. I listened to his post-match press conference on Sky Sports. He looks like a very level-headed kid. He looks composed. And I would say he looks like the type of character that could be a potential future captain. You know, he looks determined. He looks laser focused. I've been really, really impressed with him, I have to say. I mean, even his second goal yesterday, just now, obviously there's, you know, you always get a bit of luck as a striker as well. You know, you go through patches where your luck is just not there, and he certainly went through that at the start of the season, but now his luck is in. He just plays that. Now, he said it in the interview, he meant it, and of course he meant it. You can see him doing it with his chest, but he's in the right areas, and that's what's most important, and he's starting to get a little bit of supply. And still, the one thing I would say is he's not getting an awful lot of supply, and he's banging in goals. Could you imagine if he was playing in a team with, you know, Kevin De Bruyne, for example? He would, and I think he's got a better conversion rate than Erling Haaland this season. Now, obviously, Haaland has been out injured, but in terms of chances converted, I think Hojlund has got a better conversion rate. I've seen some stat on that as well. So it's looking really, really good for Hojlund, and long may it continue, because we need goals. You know, if we're going to be defensively unsound, you would say, between now and the end of the season, we're going to have to score goals at the other end of the field. So long may it continue, but I'm really, really happy for him. And number 5, top 4 is on. We're closing the gap. We are closing the gap. With Spurs dropping points on the weekend, you know, all of the negativity around Manchester United this season, from media, from opposition fans, United are terrible. They're not picking up points. They're not going to get into top 4. They're playing atrocious. Erik ten Hag should be sacked, so on and so forth. And everybody is lauding Spurs. You know, Postecoglou, what an unbelievable manager. You know, bringing Spurs, he's going to fucking get him into top 4 again, and all this kind of stuff. You know, it just goes to show the bias against Manchester United. We're fucking 3 points off of them. 3 points off of them is all we are. And we're 5 points off of Aston Villa in 4th place, who are looking very inconsistent as well. I think top 4 is, I think Manchester United are probably favourites now to get top 4, I would have to say. And that's not, you know, being biased as a Manchester United fan. I think the lack of consistency with both clubs above us, and we're hitting a really rich vein of form now where we're unbeaten in 2024. I think United have to be seen as favourites to get top 4. Whether the bookies back that up or not, I'm not 100% sure. Again, like I said, it all comes down to, it comes down to a number of different things. And a lot of the points that we mentioned so far are very relevant to whether we get top 4 or not. Consistency, controlling games, like we mentioned in point number 1. Injuries, the likes of Luke Shaw missing, how long or short are they going to be is a massive thing. Hojlund continuing to score goals is a massive predictor on whether we get top 4 or not as well. But I think it's on, and I think we should be looking at, you know, United being right there in the mix for getting top 4. I mean, only I'd say, what would you say, maybe 6 weeks ago, maybe before Christmas, you were talking not a prayer are Manchester United going to get anywhere near top 4. But all of a sudden we've turned it around, and we did say this, and Erik ten Hag mentioned it as well. If we can put a run of games together and start getting some wins under our belt, all of a sudden that gap can easily be closed. Now, we do have to be looking in the opposite direction as well. We're 6 points ahead of Brighton, who are behind us. We have to keep the pressure on. We really, really do, on both sides of us. But Spurs being inconsistent, Aston Villa being inconsistent, I think that top 4 is really, really there for the taking. I think Manchester United have to go for it with both hands. Now, we're talking about maybe the 5th place being available for Champions League next year. We can't be relying on that. Top 4 has to be the priority. I think the top 3 is pretty sewn up. You know, I think it's going to be City, Liverpool, Arsenal, I think. And then fourth is up for grabs. I think it's going to be United. I really, really do. And that's not being biased, but I think on current form, I think you can't look too far past United. So yeah, happy days. There's positives to take. Even though the performance yesterday wasn't great, another 3 points on the board, and we close the gap on fourth. So that's all you can ask for. But let me know what you think in the comment section below, guys, on all the points we've talked about. Please smash a like on the video. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel as well. We're on the road, as you can see up here, we're on the road to 8,000 subscribers. The subscriber count is flying up. So welcome to all the new subscribers and members. I appreciate the support as always, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in a bit.